Well, thank you very much for that fantastic welcome. And can I say, Majority Leader McConnell, Mr. Speaker, distinguished members of the Senate and representatives of the House, I would like to thank Congress and the Congressional Institute for the invitation to be here today. The opportunity to visit the United States is always special, and to be invited to be the first serving head of government to address this important conference is an honour indeed. So as we rediscover our confidence together, as you renew your nation just as we renew ours, we have the opportunity, indeed the responsibility, to renew the special relationship for this new age. We have the opportunity to lead together again, because the world is passing through a period of change. And in response to that change, we can either be passive bystanders, or we can take the opportunity once more to lead, and to lead together.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if you realize how significant this letter is, but it is, for me, quite amazing the number of people that I have behind me, so many different aspects of American politics. I can't imagine there's anything else this group of people behind me agrees on other than this letter. This represents the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, liberals, conservatives, people from business.
Just 1 week in the job and President Trump is already promising a complete reversal of US trade policy.
Great thing for the American worker, what we just did.
Protectionism, his guiding mantra, the recovery of American jobs. A complete shake-up of more than half a century's efforts to liberalise global trade and to facilitate the movement of goods between states and trading blocs.
It's going to be only America first. America first.
But on Friday, he'll meet with Britain's Theresa May, who's looking to refashion the special relationship now she's taking Britain out of the EU. So how will America first marry up with her vision of a global Britain?
We want to get out into the wider world, to trade and do business all around the globe.
Bear in mind that Theresa May can't sign any new trade deals until Britain leaves the EU. And she needs to keep the EU on side in order to strike the best Brexit deal possible. That means that talk on trade with the US will likely be vague at best.
I guess the government is thinking from the perspective of introducing new frictions with the EU. It would be helpful if it could reduce some of the frictions with the US and other countries. And I guess that's why the US has emerged as an early priority in discussions.
Frictions like, say, the trade in pharmaceuticals. They're the UK's biggest export to the US, worth $9.7 billion in 2015. But President Trump has his own thoughts on drugs, and he wants them homemade.
We have to get our drug industry coming back. Our drug industry has been disastrous.
So where will that leave Theresa May, torn between the US on the one side and the EU on the other? Future exports in limbo as the global trading juggernaut shifts gears. Proximity matters less than it used to, but it still matters. The EU is Britain's closest market, and it'll likely remain its most important market, however the Brexit negotiations go. Any trade deal with the US will also take a long time to negotiate, at least 2 or 3 years after Britain Brexits. So however much President Trump says he'd like a deal to happen quickly, unless he wins a second term, he may not be around to see it through. Diana Magnay, CNN, London.
Just as President Trump stepped off of his maiden voyage as Commander-in-Chief on Air Force One, he landed in his first diplomatic controversy. And for a change, all eyes weren't on his Twitter feed, but on the tweets coming from Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto, who announced in blunt Trump fashion that he has informed the White House he will not be attending a meeting scheduled next week with the new American president, a protest of President Trump's plan for a massive new wall on the border.
Mexico does not believe in walls. I've said time and again, Mexico will not pay for any wall.
Mr. Trump all but invited Peña Nieto to scrap the trip, tweeting, if Mexico is unwilling to pay for the badly needed wall, then it would be better to cancel the upcoming meeting.
Sit down, everybody. Let's enjoy ourselves.
At a GOP leaders retreat in Philadelphia, the president said the decision to cancel was mutual.
The president of Mexico and myself have agreed to cancel our planned meeting scheduled for next week. Unless Mexico is going to treat the United States fairly, with respect, such a meeting would be fruitless.
And he touted another part of his immigration plan, the swift removal of undocumented criminals.
They're going to be gone fast.
Top Republicans in Congress are now examining ways to pay for the wall, which comes with an estimated price tag of at least $12 billion.
So we intend to address the wall issue ourselves, and the president can deal with his relations with other countries on that issue and other issues.
House Speaker Paul Ryan's advice to Republicans, buckle up.
This is going to be an unconventional presidency. I think you know this by now, Casey. And I think we're going to see unconventional activities like tweets and things like that, and I think that's just something that we're all going to have to get used to.
While Republican leaders are following the president's path on Mexico, they are flat out rejecting his latest defense of the use of torture on terror suspects.
I believe virtually all of my members are comfortable with the state of the law on that issue now.
And torture's illegal, and torture's not legal. So, and we agree with it not being legal.
But the president warned his party he's not backing down from an agenda he sees as essential to keeping Americans safe, both overseas and on the streets of U.S. cities.
You look at Chicago. What's going on in Chicago? I said the other day, what the hell is going on? That is why we will continue to stand with the incredible men and women of law enforcement.
first diplomatic firestorm.
The President of Mexico and myself have agreed to cancel our planned meeting scheduled for next week. Unless Mexico is going to treat the United States fairly, with respect, such a meeting would be fruitless, and I want to go a different route.
President Donald Trump is doubling down on his promise that Mexico will in fact pay for a border wall, despite Mexico saying otherwise. While Trump hasn't given specifics on how that would happen, Thursday the White House announced it will seek to impose a 20% tax on imports from our southern neighbor. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer says the tax is just part of a comprehensive tax reform package on imports that Trump and the GOP are looking into.
By doing it that way, we can do $10 billion a year and easily pay for the wall just through that mechanism alone. That's really going to provide the funding.
But not everyone in Washington thinks it's that simple. Critics warn that the tax will likely be met with opposition and retaliation.
You're going to slap 20% on Mexico, so they'll slap 20% on the $267 billion that the United States sells in goods and services to their country. And at the end of the day, if that's what's going to happen, the American workers suffer, and at the same time, consumers suffer because the imports that come from Mexico, particularly in food product, among others, are ultimately going to be far more expensive for the consumer.
I'm Melissa Rainey.
بینالی ییلدیریم نخست وزیر ترکیه میگوید ما برای پایان دادن به جنگ در سوریه در 6 ماه گذشته ابتکار عمل را در دست گرفتیم و با همکاری روسیه و ایران آتشبس را در این کشور برقرار کردیم. او میگوید ما در مرحله بعد به دنبال برقراری ثبات پایدار در سوریه هستیم. از سوی دیگر ترکیه از پیشنهاد دونالد ترامپ مبنی بر ایجاد یک منطقه امن در شمال سوریه استقبال می‌کند، اما آنچه برای ترکیه اکنون مهم است اینکه مشخصات این منطقه امن چه هست و طرح امریکا با چه کیفیتی قرار است به اجرا در بیاید. روز گذشته سخنگوی وزارت خارجه ترکیه در این باره گفته اطلاعاتی در مورد پیشنهاد امریکا در دست داریم، اما برای ما این مهم است که این طرح چه نتایجی قرار است در پی داشته باشد. تیتر درشت روزنامه ملیت بازتاب سخنان رئیس جمهور اردوغان است که از احیای روابط دو کشور آمریکا و ترکیه میگوید. روزنامه وطن هم به 4 پیام مهم و در واقع درخواست ترکیه از دولت جدید امریکا اشاره دارد. روابط استراتژیک دو کشور، مسائل خاورمیانه که در رأس آن سوریه است، روابط تجاری و اقتصادی میان دو کشور و از همه مهمتر موضوع استرداد فتح‌الله گلن. یونان 8 نظامی ترکیه که در جریان کودتا به این کشور گریخته بودند را به ترکیه باز نخواهد گرداند. این را رأی دیوان عالی یونان میگوید که روز گذشته صادر شد و فعلا علیرغم درخواست و پافشاری ترکیه این رأی دیوان عالی است که لازم الاجراست. از آن سو بلافاصله وزارت خارجه ترکیه در بیانیه اعلام کرد این تصمیم دادگاه یونان سیاسی بوده و ترکیه به نوعی به یونان هم هشدار داده که تبعات این تصمیم میتواند بر روابط دو کشور تأثیر بگذارد. اگر برای ساخت بزرگراه و پل نیاز به تجربه داشتید ما اینجا هستیم. این سخنان بینالی ییلدیریم نخست وزیر ترکیه است خطاب به دونالد ترامپ که وعده ساختن پل و بزرگراه‌های بیشتر در امریکا را داده است. ییلدیریم میگوید ترکیه در راستای تجربیات حزب عدالت و توسعه با اجرای پروژه‌های بزرگ آشنایی دارد و میتواند تجربیات خود را در اختیار آمریکا بگذارد. ییلدیریم همچنین اضافه می‌کند این شوخی نیست. آمریکا قطار سریع السیر ندارد اما ما داریم. نخست وزیر همچنین در واکنش به صاحبان کسب و کار میگوید تا تابستان دندان روی جگر بگذارید کسب و کار رونق میگیرد. او میگوید جدای از نوسانات بازار ارز بقیه مشکلات در ماه‌های آینده برطرف خواهد شد. اما روز گذشته مصادف بود با دومین سالگرد مقاومت و پیروزی کوبانی در برابر نیروهای داعش. مراسم‌های مختلفی در شهر کوبانی به مناسبت این روز برگزار شد، اما انتشار یک کتاب تحت عنوان یک جرقه از مقاومت کوبانی در نوع خود قابل توجه است. این کتاب به رویداد مقاومت کوبانی در برابر داعش می‌پردازد و قرار است از این پس به عنوان کتب درسی در مدارس کردنشین شمال سوریه تدریس شود.